These are some of the goosebump and lump in your throat inducing moments we'll remember Tokyo 2024. The Olympic Games that were finally held a year after they were scheduled gave us new heroes who stretched human achievement to record new highs. They beat incredible odds. In the process, they made us reconsider how we do and see things. For instance, the women's hockey team's success showed in sharp relief the Herculean effort it takes for a woman to survive off the playing field. Take the case of Simone Biles and her sensational decision not to compete. It just shocked the world, didn't it? She did, of course, compete in the balance beam finals, went home with a bronze. Then the story of those high jumpers, the Italian and the Qatari, who chose to share gold when they tied. Now, these are all instances of determination, but also empathy and a new meaning of what it means to be a champion. But is it just limited to elite sports? Is it the outcome of the toll that COVID-19 has extracted? Or is it something deeper? Our young people, is Gen Z rewriting the rules of the game? And if that's the case, are brands and marketers ready? Let's ask Rajdeepak Das of Burnett, Lipika Kumaran of Futurebrands, Manisha Malhotra. She has a lot to smile about today. She's a sportswoman who heads sports excellence and scouting at JSW Sports, and Sherazad Shroff, one of the first YouTube content creators with tons of followers. Thank you all very much. It's lovely to see you. Manisha, what's the mood?
Well, euphoric is putting it mildly. I couldn't watch some parts of the match today because it was just there was so much at stake, not just for sport and not just for hockey, but just for the basic Indian people. I think that this could be a turning point. You know, team sports bring together society and they galvanize the youth and there's so many different verticals that it kind of touches. And you know, I mean, being an Indian, I wasn't even born. I mean, I was 4 years old when India won its last medal in 1980. So
yeah.
I don't remember it. And this is something that was probably the pinnacle of my sporting career, whether it's be as a player or whether it was as an administrator. I've been to a lot of different events. I've seen a lot of different events. I've been close with the athletes, but nothing compared to the feeling this morning.
What do you make of the hypothesis that I've posed right up front? Is there something different that's happening in Tokyo 2020? Is the narrative not just a positive competition, but actually of kindness, of rewriting the rules of the game or the definition of being a champion?
Well, I mean, there's always been this thing called the Olympic spirit. And the Olympics are supposed to be all about all the things you just said. They are supposed to be the games which actually bring everybody together. They are the games which enhance sportsmanship. They are the games that bring, you know, you go past race and gender and any sort of social problems that we have. And that's what the whole premise of the Olympic Games was. And here suddenly we are seeing these stories unfold right in front of our eyes. I mean, when the high jumpers are sharing a gold medal, it's completely against the ethos of any athlete. I mean, you want to be the one in the top,
exactly.
You want to be the best, you want to be the world beater. But here there are these people, they're best friends. They've seen the journeys and the pain of each other, and they were willing to share the medal. And you know, I think that this generation is different than mine or even yours. We are now kind of we're nothing like this present generation. This present generation believes they don't have any box to kind of label them as. They are the ones who are going to write the rules for themselves. And
I'm going to take this right across to Sherazad, because I think, is this your generation or is this not your generation either?
No, I'm not Gen Z. Either. But yeah, I definitely agree with everything that's been said. You know, Gen Z is really changing the rules. And I think today, I'm someone that follows, you know, sport very closely. I'm very passionate about sport. And I used to be an athlete back in the day when I was in school and college. So I really feel for our athletes, when you're watching the Olympics, there's just no, like, the thrill, the joy, the emotion, the pain, you know, you see everything. And I think it's amazing to see how we're talking about just more than sport now, you know, mental health, the whole process about sport. And Even when you see like Naomi Osaka's documentary, you see the whole process of what an athlete goes through, and it's not just performing on court, but it's the PR stuff, the press conferences, everything else as well. And it's a really, really overwhelming space to be in. So I think it's amazing to see what young people today are doing and how they're speaking out when things become tough, and talking about their realities and sharing that with people.
Lipika, is this something that is limited to sports and elite sports at that, or is the kind of attitude that you're seeing, Simone Biles display, putting her mental health front and center? I mean, is this something that you would see Indian athletes do? And if you extend that further, youth in India do?
Yes. So yes, whether it's Indian athletes or for that matter, even Indian, whether they're in cinema, you see the idea of, I think, being vulnerable today, being open. I mean, that is not something that inhibits you. You're open to kind of showing that side of you. I also feel that there is the generation and Gen Z, when we speak about them, actually are natural self myth makers. They're able to tell stories which are far beyond, say, just collective achievement, right? I mean, getting the medal, winning for the country. These are personal stories, and personal stories in that sense come out strongly when you show that personal side. And you kind of see this. I mean, whether it's the women's cricket, the hockey team, and just this personal struggle, right, that we're reading about, and how inspiring that is. I mean, that has, in a sense, always been true for a lot of sportsmen in our country. But for the first time, you're able to kind of see the pain, the rigor, the struggle, and what they went up against. And these are stories of individuals, and that I think is something that is true beyond just athletes. You kind of see that happening even amongst young people on social media and how they speak and present themselves.
Raj, what is there a lot of food for thought where Tokyo 2020 is concerned? Because as a marketing communications guy, as an advertising guy, you're looking at spectacles like the Olympics to see what kind of iconic moments and what is distilled when it comes to human emotions, aspirations, and all of that. What are you seeing?
Anuradha, I think we are going through the most interesting time of our life. All of us, we have seen what happened in the last 2 years. And when the Tokyo Olympics happened, I think you can see the empathy coming out. And that's the best part of it. Either what happened in this sharing a gold, or Osaka's thing, what's happening, or everywhere, you can see empathy for people, empathy for each other. I think when COVID hit us, we knew empathy is going to play a massive role. We all have gone through the worst of humankind ever seen. And now sports is the time where we actually support each other. We thrive on each other's success sometimes. And that's what is happening. What we're happening now is just because of the massive amount of empathy, the pain that we have gone through. We don't want to go through that. And that's the reflection of it, what's happening in Tokyo Olympic. It's fantastic.
But Raj, does that make you have to go back to the drawing board to see how to connect with youngsters and the youth if empathy is so front and center? Because all along advertising has riffed on competitiveness. If I use the deodorant, I'm the last man standing. If I am a cola drinker, this dil mange more always. Manisha की शर्ट मेरे शर्ट से सफेद कैसे? This is all human insecurities is what advertising has played on and preyed on to succeed. Does that stand going further?
No. I'll tell you why. The reason is, Anuradha, advertising is always the reflection of what the world is going through. And we build that and create the content out of it, or we create the cult out of it. So it's not about what this generation or any generation. It's always happening. I'll tell you, for example, 2017 Hungarian Grand Prix, Lewis Hamilton was asked his teammate to go in the front so he can go and beat Ferrari. And when in the last lap, he gave the position to his teammate. Right? It's always happened. Sacrifices happen in games. We have seen what happened in cricket, for instance. Right? So what we do, what we create is we borrow from a different world, and the world is what we live in. And the world is very different. And it's the most interesting time, like I told you. We are not going back to drawing board. We are living the drawing board now. So we are just getting the power from what's happening. I think I love when Tom went the knitting and before winning the gold, the camera was on him. And after he winning, everyone says, wow, you do whatever you want to do, but be yourself, whatever takes you, get a conscientious and everything. And that's amazing to see that. It's around us. In advertising, we don't create things from ground zero or anything from mid-air. No.
So you're ready. You're saying you're ready to deal with this changed environment and this fluid environment in which we are living in. Let me get Manisha in here. Manisha, I want you to weigh in on what happened with with Simone Biles. Would an Indian athlete be able to do something like that? Put her distress, put her anxiety, put her inability to perform even, or her doubts about her ability to perform, her mental health front and center?
I think the answer to that is a very overwhelming yes.
Oh, okay.
And I think that we are in a place today where the youth do have a voice, and we are willing to, we at least in the athletic world, we are willing to talk about that. And this has to be, it's still a very new topic in the world of sport. It is also something that most athletes, even when they are struggling mentally, don't know it may be mental or what it is, or they just can't understand what is really going on with them. So from a support point of view, I think it will take some time before we can kind of, tell an athlete who is struggling that, listen, this could be linked to your happiness or things like that. So that's where we are still in a very nascent stage. But I do not believe that any of the Indian athletes today would suppress something like this, especially when it affects them so deeply and it's their life pretty much on the line. I mean, these young athletes live by their own rules and they do a lot of things very, very independent to normal thinking and they don't really
Manisha,
follow.
the pressure of India's expectations when it comes to its athletes, at the Olympics and at this kind of stage, for instance, Vandana Kataria, we are hearing today of these awful stories about her family being heckled. Heckled is a mild word, right? Those guys are criminals. We're hearing those reports. Tomorrow, if Vandana Kataria says, hey, you know what? I cannot play in the game. Would that be acceptable? Would India be able to deal with that? Because that is mental agony.
Yeah, I don't think as a society we would be willing to accept that as yet. There's no doubt about that. And I think that, as a society, the fact that this is even happening shows how backward we are. So maybe Vandana Kataria does want to say something, and maybe she will be suppressed when she does try to say something. Mm-hmm. Yes. That is definitely the case as it is today. But, you also have to understand that there are so many different layers within our own economic, socio-economic backgrounds, educational backgrounds. So I wouldn't bat twice if Sania comes out and says, listen, I'm withdrawing from the rest of the year. I just need to take care of my mind and make sure I'm healthy mentally. And, we have people like an Abhinav Bindra going out there and talking about mental health and making it front and center. So it is the topic of the moment in terms of world sport. And then we have these trailblazers like the Phelps and the Serena and Biles and Osaka. So it's only going to be something that's going to come up more and more. So I do believe that it would happen. I just don't think it might happen tomorrow.
And Lipika, will what the icons are doing and are daring to do, is this something that is extending across? Because Vandana Kataria may not be able to stand up and say, hey, I'm not going to play. I'm not saying she should. I'm just saying that it could affect her like that. Are you seeing this extend to youth and Gen Z in general, or is this something that is restricted to the world of sports? Lipika?
Yeah. No, I think it definitely is something that extends to youth in general today. Maybe, as Manisha said, not all of Indian society might be able to accept it. But when you look at, young sportsmen today and what they are doing, they are also, in a sense, connecting. See, it's actually much bigger, right? It's not, they're actually going for much bigger wins. In that sense, they are as competitive and as driven. And it's very, tempting to kind of, use empathy as a frame. But here we have young performers, young sports people who are actually trying to change structures, change things that are systemically wrong. Standing for causes, standing for things that appeal to their audience. Their audience today also are a new generation of fans, right? And for fans today as well to be able to see stories, from the people that they admire, the people that they are rooting for, which are not just about winning, but the fact that they are winning, they're going up against systems, they're going up against things, that have previously not been challenged, and winning in the face of that. So there's definitely an appeal today, for young people, for standing for a cause, which is why you, in a sense, also see that happening today in the world of marketing and brands, and that is something that brands today are learning, right? That is a cause. There is, whether it is sustainability, whether it is contributing to something for, women's welfare or children. These are things that today matter.
Shehzad, how interested are your followers? How interested are people in that 20 plus, 20 to 30, 20 to 25-year-old age group? How interested are they in causes? How much does the world around them matter? Because frankly, sometimes, and maybe I'm speaking about, talking about my generation now, to quote The Who, but, sometimes when I see Instagram videos, Reels, YouTube, I really can't understand what excites people, because it's just, it's just somebody in their own private moments. It feels like that sometimes.
So yeah, I would definitely say younger people today are much more aware than I think we were 10 years ago, and they know what they want. They know what they want to see, whether it's from their creators, from their sportsmen, from their idols of any form. They're more vocal. So they want you to be unapologetically you, but obviously they're very passionate about, the causes you are passionate about, and they share that love, and you see that often. So, for example, with me, I talk a lot about the Adopt Don't Shop movement with animals, and I see a lot of support from a lot of young people that follow me because they feel like that's the way forward. So I think it's important to be vocal and talk about whatever you're passionate about, and I feel like younger people today, acknowledge that, they respect that, and they value that a lot more than I think we did earlier. And there's no fear in speaking out about what you believe in anymore. I think that has totally changed. The dynamic has totally changed, and everybody is vocal for the causes that they believe in, and they want even the brands that they follow to be, supporting the causes that they believe in, or they won't support those brands. So it's really interesting to see how the whole space has kind of changed over the past 5 years.
Raj, do brands have to stand for something and have to consistently stand for something in a very, very meaningful way?
I think if the brand is connected to something, like if the brand purpose is something that it's connected, then they should stand for something, not for the sake of standing for something. You don't have to, because let's talk about all the brands wanted to have a cause advertising. You know what I mean? You don't have to be cause advertising. If you don't have a purpose, you don't have to do that. You know what I mean? A brand, for instance, we did something for HDFC Life. I remember 2 years back, we talked about to celebrate failures, for instance. A country, we don't believe in failure, but we're saying, okay, you know what, to win, you have to fail through it. You have to have multiple fails to have the winner attitude. I think brands start talking about it, but the most important thing, are they connected? Is the brand in the center? And the purpose in the center, not for just hack up talking about it. They should not talk about it.
Manisha, what are some of the things that you're picking up? You scout for, the next icons, all the people that we are going to look up to and, sort of bask in their reflected glory. What are you hearing at the grassroots when it comes to sporting aspirations?
Well, I think that the biggest thing we see now, we are constantly going to all parts of the country and all corners of the country to try and find different athletes in various sports that we support. And what we do find in each and every one of them is the belief that they want to win an Olympic medal and they can win an Olympic medal. And sure, the success of a sportsman is not defined by an Olympic medal or not, but this is what the system, at least the thing going on the ground is that they want to be able to be the best and they can be the best, which was very, very different than, let's say, 20 years ago, where you kind of wanted to be the best, but then you knew that there were so many problems and you didn't think that you could do it, but still you wanted to just give it a shot. And the whole mindset is completely different. I mean, we had 126 athletes now go to the Olympics. It was the biggest contingent ever.
Yes.
And for the first time ever, I think there's more than 65 or 70% of them went there to win a medal and not just to participate. So that is a big deal. I think sport has come a long way. I would think that it would be now empowering for our sports icons to start thinking beyond sport. I think that they need to start addressing, being more than just an athlete. And I think that is the pathway forward for our Indian athletes as of right now.
Okay, I'm out of time, but Lipika, you can have the last word. If you look at the Olympics, what it's thrown up, the stuff we've discussed, what's the key takeaway where brands and marketers are concerned, given that we are talking on the media dialogues?
Yeah, I think a few things. One, to recognize that when we speak about Gen Z today, it is a different world, right? I mean, they're literally, you began by saying that they are rewriting the rules, and they truly are. And they're not just rewriting the rules, right? They're making the content. They are the ones consuming it, making it, and they're setting new rules, right, for how markets and for brands, how personalities, in a sense, speak to them. And there today definitely is, a larger sort of a search for, authenticity. Fallibility is something that you would admire, whether it's in people and brands. And these, in a sense, are sort of, big things for, whether it's, marketers, whether it's, personalities to really take note of, because we are speaking to a new audience today.
Okay, lovely talking to all of you. I think we've had a lot to cheer about. Manisha, keep doing the great work. Raj, Lipika, figure out how to, stay in touch with what's going on, because everything is changing so dramatically. And Sherazad, you're talking directly to everybody out there, right? You don't need the media, you don't need the brands, you don't need the marketers. You can go full steam ahead. Thank you all very much, and let's look forward to another conversation on the media dialogue. Stay tuned to CNBC TV 18 in the meanwhile. Thank you.